The blizzard crawled over the mountains like a living thing, white, snarling, and hungry. By the time the group reached the old Matheson cabin, the storm had shut the world behind a curtain of ice. In the hiss of wind and groaning of pine boughs, the 6 friends thought they heard whispers. Just the storm, they told each other. Just the storm. They stumbled inside, froze as the door slammed behind them, and were met with the stale scent of dust and something faintly floral. It was Sam who noticed the plant first. A pot sat on a wooden shelf near the frost-fogged window. A Christmas cactus, but unlike any they'd seen. Its lone bloom glowed, not merely red, but a red that moved. Pulsed. Like a heartbeat cupped within petals. "Someone's been taking care of it," Mia murmured. She brushed a finger along one leaf. It thrummed. They should have questioned it then. But they were 6 tired, freezing people, grateful to have shelter at all. Grateful for anything that looked alive in so much white death. They unpacked, lit the stove, and tried to pretend the storm didn't exist. All the while, the flower glowed softly behind them. Ethan was the first. He sat near the cactus that night, simply staring at the bloom as if hypnotized. Sam nudged him twice before he blinked, pupils blown wide. "Sorry," he said slowly. "Just thought of something." But the next morning, they found him in the same place, still sitting upright, face frozen in a soft smile. At first, they thought he had fallen asleep. Then Mia touched his cheek. Cold. Hard. Ethan had crystallized. His body shimmered like carved quartz dusted with frost. They screamed. They shook him. His shoulder snapped off with a wet, icy crack, crumbling into glittering shards on the floor. The cactus bloomed brighter that day. Panic rotted the group quickly. Alma swore they needed to destroy the plant. But when she went near it, she froze, not physically, but mentally. Her eyes widened, her breath steadied, and her lips parted in a trembling smile. She began talking, to no one. "No, Dad, you didn't forget. You made that treehouse. You did." Sam and Mia dragged her away, but Alma clawed at the air, screaming for them to let her just finish Christmas. By nightfall she had ripped herself from their grasp and crawled toward the flower. The cabin echoed with the snap and tinkle of ice the next morning. Now there were 2 statues. The cactus glowed brighter still, its petals opening, ruby veins throbbing like the capillaries of some unseen heart. Sam realized then. It's feeding on the visions. The happiness. It's draining it out of them. And the thing inside the cactus, the shifting darkness they sometimes glimpsed behind the petals, was growing. They blocked their eyes with scarves and avoided its shelf like a corner of hell. But the bloom hummed now. It vibrated the walls. It throbbed in their skulls. And the hallucinations tempted them with quiet, seductive whispers. Your happiest Christmas. The one you never got to keep. The storm worsened. Their food dwindled. Despair swirled thicker than snow. They found an old journal in the cabin from a man named Clarence Matheson. The final entry chilled their blood. It needs the joy before the 12th night. Before the new year begins. If it does not feed, it dies, and with it, the host. I'm already too happy, too full of memories. I fear I will not last till dawn. Sam dropped the journal. Host, he whispered. The cactus pulsed in acknowledgement. One by one, the others succumbed. A glimpse. A second too long. That was all it took. Until only Mia remained. She had always been the quiet one. The one who didn't laugh much. The one who never spoke of the holidays except to change the subject. She realized something the moment she felt the bloom tug at her mind, trying to dredge up her happiest memory. It couldn't. Because she didn't have a happy Christmas. Not a single one. As the 12th night ticked closer, she understood what the creature wanted and what she had to do. So Mia sat before the flower. And she opened the door, not to joy, but to despair. She forced herself to relive that Christmas. Her mother vomiting from chemo treatments. Her father screaming that he couldn't do this anymore. The shattered ornament. The overturned tree. The cold living room where she'd cried alone while the snow fell silently outside. As the memory rose in perfect detail, Mia felt her throat tighten, her stomach twist, her chest seize like a fist was squeezing it. The flower recoiled. Its glow flickered. The petals curled inward, blackening around the edges like burned paper. Mia leaned closer, tears streaming, not from beauty, but from the violent recollection of grief. "You want joy?" she whispered, voice cracking. "I don't have any. Christmas is nothing but pain for me." The petal veining turned sickly gray. The humming became shrill. Something inside the cactus convulsed, writhing as if choking on poison. Mia pressed her forehead to the pot. "Choke on it," she whispered. The bloom shriveled with a wet, guttural hiss. Then, silence. The creature inside collapsed into itself, rotting instantly into black sludge. The pot cracked down the middle, spilling ash that glittered like dead snow. The storm outside began to ease. But Mia just sat there, shivering with the weight of the memory she had torn open. It filled her now, huge, sharp, and merciless. Bigger than the cabin. Bigger than the mountains. There would be no forgetting it. No healing it. And worst of all, when she looked at her friend's glittering remains, she felt no relief. Only a terrible, aching hollowness where happiness used to try to grow. Mia survived the blizzard. People asked her how she managed, what she saw, what she felt, what she remembered. She never answered. But every holiday season since, something strange happens wherever Mia goes. Christmas lights behind her burn out. Carols sound distorted. Stores go quiet when she walks through. Joy wilts at her presence. Cheer recoils. Because the creature died, yes. But its diet, its craving, did not. And it found a new home inside the only person it couldn't feed on. A woman who learned that in the dead of winter, sometimes darkness isn't the enemy. Sometimes darkness is the only thing that keeps you alive. Second story. Marcus Doyle hadn't meant to cry in front of the mall manager, but exhaustion had twisted his nerves thin. Rent was past due, electricity was flickering, and his daughter Lily needed medicine he couldn't afford. So he stood there, unshaven, coat too thin, when the manager said the strangest sentence Marcus had ever heard. "I can pay you $5,000 for one night." Marcus blinked. "As a Santa?" The manager stood under a broken ceiling light that flickered softly, illuminating him only in quick, stuttering frames. He didn't seem to have a shadow, even though every decoration in the mall cast long, monstrous ones. His name tag read simply, N. Klaus. His smile never touched his eyes. In exchange, Klaus said smoothly, "You must sign the employment contract. And you must abide by its clauses." He slid a sheet of parchment across the kiosk counter, yellowed, curled at the edges, smelling faintly of incense and old books. Marcus laughed once, weakly. "Is this some kind of theme?" Klaus didn't laugh. "This contract predates themes." The writing looked handwritten. By a hand that didn't seem to care about human penmanship. Marcus swallowed. He needed the money. He would have signed anything. When the pen touched the parchment, it hummed. Only for a moment. Like something old had woken up. Marcus didn't know what that meant, but he put on the red suit and trudged to the Santa throne in the empty, dimly lit mall. The decorations flickered. The air smelled like old pine and dust. There were no customers. Until there were. At 9:13 p.m., a little boy appeared in the middle of the lined velvet ropes. Marcus hadn't heard the doors. The boy's coat was worn wool, stitched by hand. His shoes were leather and laced like something out of a museum. Ho, ho ho, Marcus tried, his voice shaky. What can Santa do for you, kiddo? The boy took off his cap and held it respectfully. He spoke softly, in an accent long dead. I wish for a new heart for my mother, sir, before the fever takes her tonight. Marcus's breath hitched. That's not how. But the boy pressed his forehead to Marcus's gloved hand, whispering something like a prayer. The air hummed. The lights above them dimmed. And then he was gone. Vanished. Marcus stumbled to his feet. Klaus? Klaus. No answer. Then another child appeared. A girl with a soot-smeared dress and braids undone. Santa, she whispered, can you undo the fire? Please. My sister is still inside the house. Marcus felt weak. Where are your parents? Are you hurt? What? A third child joined the line. Then a fourth. Clothes from centuries. Faces pale with grief. Voices trembling with the last desperate wish each had carried at the moment of their death. Marcus realized the truth. They weren't children from this mall. They weren't children from this century. They were the last, unanswered prayers of children lost to tragedy. And he was collecting them. Wish after wish. A girl frozen in the blizzard of 1912. A boy coughing blood from a plague that no longer existed. A toddler who whispered, can you stay with me so I don't feel so cold? Marcus shook, sweat running under the Santa suit. The gloves felt too tight. The beard scratched his throat. He tried to run twice, but every time he stepped away from the throne, he found himself sitting back on it, breathless, heart pounding. Klaus's voice whispered without sound. Receive their wishes. Take them in. They have waited lifetimes. Marcus's heart cracked. He tried to comfort them, but each one vanished the moment they whispered their hope. The mall grew colder. The lights dimmer. The air heavier. By 11:53 p.m., only one child remained. A girl in a pale nightgown, hair white blonde, eyes gray like winter fog. She stepped forward, hands trembling. What's your wish? He whispered. She swallowed. I want your hope. Marcus froze. My, what? Just a little, she murmured. You don't need it all. I need it so I can rest. He tried to stand, but the world pressed down on his shoulders. She reached out a small, shaking hand. Please, Santa. Give me your hope. Marcus stared at her. He thought of Lily at home. Her asthma inhaler. Her laugh. Her tiny hand in his. If he gave away hope. Real hope. What would she have left? No, he whispered. I can't. The girl's face twisted, not in anger, but in grief. Then the mall lights exploded in white brilliance. A figure appeared behind the girl, tall and ancient, draped in crimson and gold. Not quite human. Not quite divine. His eyes glowed like starlight reflected on winter rivers. You have refused, he said, voice as old as bells. No Santa has refused in centuries. Marcus staggered back. Who are you? What are you doing to these kids? The figure placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. She vanished in a shimmer of frost-like sparkles. Klaus, St. Nicholas, turned to Marcus. They come to me, he said softly, every year. Their final wishes fuel my one night of miracles. Their hope is not taken, it is honored. Marcus trembled. I thought this was evil. It is solemn, Klaus replied. Not evil. He stepped closer, and Marcus smelled pine forests under moonlight. For hundreds of years, every mall Santa who took this job surrendered their own hope. A small price. A willing offering. Marcus whispered, I couldn't. I need hope. For my daughter. Exactly, Claus said. His voice warmed. And that is why the contract dissolved. The parchment burst into silver ash, drifting like snowflakes. There is no payment tonight, the saint continued. Instead, there is a gift. Anything? Marcus choked out. One wish. Pure and without cost. Marcus didn't hesitate. Let my daughter be safe. Healthy. Protected. Always. Nicholas bowed his head. It is done. When Marcus got home, breath shaking, suit torn, smelling of pine and cold, he found the apartment softly glowing. Lily slept peacefully in her small bed, color in her cheeks, inhaler unused on the nightstand. He lifted her gently. Her breathing was perfect. Her chest rose and fell without strain. Her skin was warm. He sank to the floor, holding her, sobbing into her hair. The air shimmered faintly, like distant sleigh bells. And on the windowsill, where frost had gathered earlier, there was now a perfect circle of warm, melting glass, like something bright had rested there. Watching. Marcus never saw Claus again. But every Christmas Eve, when the clock neared midnight, he swore he heard soft footsteps in the snow outside. And once, just once, he found an ancient coin under Lily's pillow. A symbol of protection. Of old magic. A reminder that hope, once given freely, becomes something eternal. And that the world is watched over by forces older than fear. Older than grief. Older than Christmas itself. For the original Saint Nicholas had chosen him. Not as a conduit. Not as an employee. But as a father whose hope was so fierce, it broke an ancient contract. And that kind of hope remains the greatest miracle of all. Third story. When Maya unlocked her grandmother's house, the first thing she smelled was gingerbread, warm, spicy, suffocatingly sweet. The scent moved through the hallway like a ghost with sticky hands. Her grandmother, Eleanor Whitcomb, had died alone in this house. They'd barely spoken in years. Maya stepped inside. The house was old, brass doorknobs, wallpaper yellowed with time, wooden floors that groaned under her boots. But the kitchen. The kitchen was wrong. It looked new, aggressively so. Stainless steel counters, wide marble island, gleaming cabinets. And at its center, like a throne, sat a hulking, vintage-style gingerbread oven, a red enamel monstrosity with brass latches and a glass window stained with something dark and syrupy. It was on. It was always on. A soft orange glow pulsed inside, like a heartbeat trapped behind fireproof glass. Maya approached it cautiously. Okay, that's not normal. She tried the power switch, nothing. She tried unplugging it, but the moment she touched the cord, a faint, high-pitched scream wriggled through the walls. The sound slithered through the pipes and vents like trapped air being tortured. Maya jerked her hand back. The scream stopped. She backed away, pulse thudding. What the hell did you leave me, Grandma? She found the recipe that night, tucked inside her grandmother's cookbook. Perfect gingerbread men. For the eternal Christmas. Ingredients. Brown sugar. Molasses. Spices. Butter. Flour. 1 lock of hair, for likeness. 1 item of sentimental value, for essence. Maya stared at it. Then laughed. A nervous, too loud laugh. This has to be a joke. The further notes in her grandmother's shaky handwriting weren't funny. Do not turn off the oven. It protects them. Preservation requires heat. Sweetness keeps the soul safe. For reasons she couldn't explain, Maya made the dough anyway. Not with hair, just the normal ingredients. She mixed, rolled, cut out shapes. When she pulled them from the oven, she went perfectly still. The gingerbread men were wrong. Their eyes weren't stitched chocolate chips. They were tiny sugar pearls that glistened with moisture. Their expressions weren't cartoonish. They looked peaceful. Content. As if someone had captured the exact moment of a person's calmest breath and baked it into dough. One figure resembled Mrs. Pennington, the elderly neighbor from 2 doors down. Another looked uncannily like her old music teacher. A third, God, was her ex-boyfriend Alex, mouth set in that familiar smug half-smile. Maya shoved the tray away. No. No, no. But the gingerbread faces stared back at her with warm, serene expressions. Not dead. Not alive. Preserved. Over the next 3 days, the smell worsened. It grew thicker, sweeter, like syrup poured down her throat. The oven never dimmed, never cooled, never stopped humming softly, like a cat purring while it digested something still alive. Whenever Maya stepped too close, she saw movement inside. Not shapes, exactly, just shifting shadows pressed against the orange glow. Like hands stretching beneath molten sugar. When she touched the oven door, it felt like skin. The recipe card's edges began to curl inward, as if warming in anticipation. Each morning, a new gingerbread figure appeared cooling on the rack, even when Maya hadn't baked anything. And each one looked more lifelike. Mrs. Pennington. Her mailman. Her coworker. A barista she'd once tipped generously. Her father, who had left when she was 7. All smiling. All peaceful. All preserved. Maya's stomach twisted. These aren't cookies, she whispered. These are people. She found her grandmother's journals hidden in the bottom drawer of an antique desk. Page after page described people Eleanor had saved. Saved from heartbreak. Saved from fear. Saved from growing old and sick and tired. Eleanor's handwriting wavered. Life hurts them. The oven keeps them. I do not trap them, I give them peace. Inside the oven, time stops. Their sweetness preserves them. They sleep in gingerbread stillness, content forever. And then, on the final page. One day, Maya will understand. The oven only desires those who need peace most. Maya's blood ran cold. There was a second note taped to the very back of the journal. For the next baking. A lock of her hair. Something she cherishes. It is time. Maya checked the counter. A mixing bowl was already set out. A fresh mound of dough rested inside, warm as flesh. The oven glowed brighter. The scent grew sweeter, more insistent, wrapping around her throat, coaxing. Maya lifted the bowl. The dough pulsed beneath her fingers. She knew what it wanted. She knew who it wanted. She opened the recipe card again, hands trembling. Hair. Sentimental item. Essence. Her grandmother hadn't been a monster. She hadn't killed anyone. She had rescued them. Placed them into a perfect, serene existence. Preserved forever in gingerbread grace. No pain. No heartbreak. No aging. No fear. Just endless, peaceful Christmas stillness. What if she was right? Maya whispered. What if living hurts more than this? Her life had been a procession of disappointments. Loneliness. Failure. Fractured relationships. An exhaustion so deep she sometimes felt hollow. Maybe the oven saw that. Maybe her grandmother had. She snipped a lock of her hair. It fluttered into the dough. She took the tiny silver locket her grandmother had given her as a child, her most cherished possession, and pressed it gently into the mixture. The dough warmed, accepting her. She shaped it carefully, lovingly, molding tiny arms and legs, smoothing its small gingerbread face. It looked exactly like her. Exactly. Exactly. The oven door opened on its own. A wave of sweet, hot air washed over her like an embrace. A welcome. Okay, she whispered. Her voice was steady. It's time. She slid the gingerbread figure, herself, into the heat. The moment the door closed, a soft sound filled the kitchen. A sigh. A release. A rebirth. There was no scream. No pain. Just warmth. Light. A dissolving, sugary sweetness flowing into her mind, her memories, her soul. Then. Silence. Perfect silence. Maya opened her eyes, or whatever version of eyes she had now. She was whole. Small. Still. Serene. Her gingerbread body sat on the mantelpiece, placed gently beside her grandmother's. Around her, tens of perfect gingerbread figures smiled softly, living their eternal, peaceful Christmas from within their sugared stillness. No hunger. No fear. No regret. Just a warm, quiet holiday that would never end. She could feel her grandmother's presence beside her. Loving. Proud. And for the first time in her life, Maya felt safe. She had not died. She had simply joined the eternal Christmas. Where nothing changes. Nothing hurts. And everything is sweet. Forever.